What's going on, everyone? So yesterday we got news that Jerami Grant to the Lakers is really kind of gaining some steam and seems to be, if a trade goes down, the most likely scenario for the Lakers. Supposedly, based on a Blazers reporter, take that as you may, right? You always got to look at where's the information from. Is it a neutral site? Is it a Laker bias? Is it a Blazers bias? Well, in this scenario, it is a Blazers reporter who reported that the Lakers agreed to 2 first-round picks and Rob Pelinka ended up backing out. Whether that's true or not, yet to be seen. We'll find out. But that is what that report says. And then also that the Lakers, are potentially closing in on and may even be close to being done because Zach Lowe on the Lowe Post basically said, should we already start printing our Laker Jerami Grant jerseys? So that's caused a real stir and a buzz. But here's the thing, how likely of a scenario is it that the Lakers land Jerami Grant? Now, it's definitely not 100%. The market seems to be limited for Jerami Grant. There doesn't seem to be a ton of teams lining up to sign Jerami Grant or trade for Jerami Grant, right? Because he is a bit overpriced. It's not easy for teams to go and trade for his salary. And how many teams actually need a guy like him? There are a couple teams on the market that have some interest in him, but they also have interest in targeting Cam Johnson. I've talked about this before. Is this something where you kind of let everyone go after and duke it out for Cam Johnson while you kind of focus on trying to get a Jerami Grant deal done? That way, it's like, hey, one of these guys is going to go over there and then you may be stuck with Jerami Grant. I do, however, think that it is very likely that the Lakers land Jerami Grant. He's also the guy I've talked about the most. He's the guy I've talked about in the past that I think he is the most realistic, given that, again, limited market. The Portland Trailblazers really need to get off of him and get off of him pretty badly. Now, people say, oh no, they can keep Jerami Grant. Portland's not in a position. They're not. They can, right? They're not in a position where they're desperate and they have to get off of him. But it is absolutely in their best interest to move off of Jerami Grant. And so, to me, I think, and I've talked about this repeatedly, patience is a very big factor here. Because right now, the Blazers want 2 firsts. The Lakers do not want to give up 2 firsts. You have, 2.5 months between now and training camp, to where the closer you get to training camp, the more that whole, are we really going to bring Jerami Grant into training camp? Are we really going to start the season with Jerami Grant? All of a sudden, the Blazers get a little bit more desperate to trade him. Now, again, they're not in a point of desperation to where it's like they'll just give him away, but it absolutely is in their best interest to unload Jerami Grant. The obvious answer is because they're a tanking team and they want to lose as many games as possible. They also want to give the young guys as much opportunity as possible. And if they can land a Cooper Flag or something, they're going to try their best to do that. So getting off of Jerami Grant is important for the Portland Trailblazers. The other thing is the young guys. They just got Denny from the Washington Wizards, right? He is, their 23-year-old small forward, power forward type player. But the thing with the Blazers is they are strapped. They have a ton of guards and they have a ton of centers now because they got Robert Williams, they got DeAndre Ayton, and they got a new Donovan Clegan who they ended up drafting, right? So another little side note is, could the Lakers maybe get a Robert Williams or something in the mix? That would be nice. We'll touch on that here more in a moment. But you look at what they have. They also have young forwards that are in the best interest to get as much playing time as possible. You have Chris Murray, who you could slot at 3 or the 4. You have Denny, who Ajay could play the 3 or the 4. right? You want to get him as many minutes as possible. Even a guy like Sharp, right? You could slide in and slot over as your 3 if you wanted to, if you needed to, right? They have several guys in which it's in their best interest to try to get as many minutes as possible. Jabari Walker, right, is another guy that comes to mind that they have, right? So they have several guys that they would much rather give the minutes, the shot attempts, the opportunity to than Jerami Grant, who is going to, dominate the ball. He's going to get his shot attempts. He's taking away from the young guys. It is 100% in the Blazers' best interest to get off of Jerami Grant before training camp. Again, it's not so desperate that they have to. It's like, worst case scenario, you bring Murray off the bench or something like that. Again, it's not ideal, but they can, right? They could play a little bit of hardball, but I'm sure that's not what they want, right? Because Jerami Grant is definitely winning you some games that you don't want to win. At least if you win games that you don't want to win with the young guys, at least it's with the young guys that are giving you that they're gaining experience and, building towards something, rather than a guy that isn't going to be on the team long term and you're trying to get him off the roster ASAP. So I do think that is a big factor in play here that, again, continues to warrant the Lakers' patience, right? Right now it's 2 firsts. Come training camp, it might be a first and a pick swap, or maybe just a first in a couple seconds, right? Maybe you could work something out. Now, could you convince the Blazers to maybe throw in a Robert Williams? And now if you can get a Robert Williams in the deal, maybe you're willing to give up, a little more. Maybe you're willing to give up, a first and 2. I would still want to keep a first because I just don't. Robert Williams has a lot of concerns, right? Particularly the injury. He's on a great contract. He's not on this insanely expensive, he's incredibly overpaid type contract. He's only making for this season, call it 12 and a half. It's a little less, but 12 and a half million. And then next season, not this season coming up, the following season, 2025, 2026, he's making 13.2 million. Problem with him is he is a risk, particularly on staying healthy. But when he's healthy, him and Anthony Davis would just be A1. That would be unbelievable if you could pull that off. But last season he played 6 games. Year before that he played 35. Year before that was 61, then 52, right? If he could play around 61 games and be healthy for the playoffs, that would be ideal, right? But I still wouldn't give up 2 firsts for Robert Williams and Jerami Grant, but I would definitely give up a first and a pick swap, or a pick swap and maybe a couple seconds, right? Because now you solved your backup center position. You solved your wing position, your 3-and-D wing, and then, if you can keep a D'Lo or something, right? Now maybe you could go and get another piece or 2, right? Maybe you could go and turn him into a point guard, probably particularly, or keep him, right? Because it might be tough to get these 2 without D'Lo, because you're talking, like I said, 12 and a half. Plus Jerami Grant's making 30 million this year. So you're talking 42. Let's just call it 43 to be safe. You basically, best case scenario, you're probably trading D'Lo at that point. But supposedly they don't really want D'Lo. They want Rui and Vanderbilt. And so that's only 27 million in salary, right? So throwing a Gabe Vincent, that's 38 million. You'd still have to get to, another 10 million, something like that. So that might be a little challenging. It's not impossible, especially if a team like the Blazers are willing to take on several guys. But again, it just kind of becomes challenging. But if you could get and convince for a Robert Williams or something, now I'd be a little more willing. I'd probably keep Gabe Vincent at that point, right? And just do D'Lo, Rui, and Jared Vanderbilt. I don't want to trade Jared Vanderbilt. I really don't. But it kind of feels like the only way that they're going to get Jerami Grant is to give up Jared Vanderbilt. But you look at it, you go, man, you get Jerami Grant, you get Grant Williams, you keep Gabe Vincent, you keep Austin Reeves, right? Like you could always just go. I mean, your starting five could be, if you wanted to, Grant Williams with 80, or just go with Gabe Vincent, go Gabe Reeves, Gabe Reeves, Jeremy, LeBron, and AD. Something that you could work out on. But regardless, again, Rob Pelinka, he's got to work his magic, one, and two, he's got to be patient. If he really did back out of 2 first, then I'm glad. Right? You don't want to be known as that guy, which is a bit concerning because this is now, if assuming that report's true, again, take it with a grain of salt, but assuming that report's true, this would now be the 3rd time that that's happened, right? You have the Sacramento Kings Buddy Hield trade in which they backed out so that way they could go and trade for Russell Westbrook, and then you have the Buddy Hield and Miles Turner trade, right? That Genie Bus actually vetoed, and then now you'd have this. You don't want to be the guy that is known to back out of deals at the last minute. It's not good for your reputation. That's not good faith trading, right? It's just that it's a good way to kind of get teams not to want to deal with you, and it's already hard to get teams to want to deal with you just because you're the Lakers, and the Laker tax is a real thing. So I hope that that's not true, because I'm hoping from the beginning Rob Pelinka's like, I'm not trading 2 first, which is why I think that report is a little BS, because, again, there's been consensus reports from multiple sources that have all said Rob Pelinka is not going to give up 2 first for Jerami Grant. Like, has said it, right? That they want 2 first. The Lakers are not giving up 2 first for Jerami Grant. I mean, even like Jovan Buha and stuff like that has talked about it, right? That they don't want to give up any first for Cam Johnson. They don't want to give up a first for Jerami Grant. So I don't all of a sudden see the Lakers, I don't see Rob agreeing to that when the last month or so, all we've heard is the opposite. Like, it's just, it's a little silly to me. I mean, granted, things change. Maybe the Lakers felt a little bit of desperation. But look, if that is true, I am very glad and thankful that Rob Pelinka kind of came to his senses and went, you know what, I probably shouldn't do this. Because that would have been a disaster, especially if you're giving up Vando and Rui, right? It's just, I hope that that's not what happens. Even if you could get Grant Williams, or Robert Williams, sorry. Even if you could get Robert Williams, I still wouldn't. I still would be reluctant to give up both first. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that the Lakers, it kind of feels inevitable at this point, it's going to happen sooner rather than later? Do you think, no, it's not going to happen at all? Do you think, it's hopefully, hopefully it happens? I mean, I think all of us are definitely hoping, fingers crossed, that it happens. But I think, look, I've been very consistent in maintaining that I believe something happens. I think sooner or later, something's going to get done. Or again, maybe it's just me being overly optimistic. It's always a possibility, but I think ultimately, push comes to shove, something's going to get done. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you believe that this is something that is going to get done? Let me know. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.